In the shadowed corners of our world lie the forgotten voices, women locked away in prisons where survival, not justice, becomes their daily battle. From the scorching deserts of Egypt's Al-Qanater, where buckets replace toilets, to Madagascar's Anoni Moay, where inmates sleep with feet on each other, these prisons are more than punishment. They're living nightmares. Being sentenced in an African women's prison may be considered hell on earth. Imagine a cell for 10 crammed with 70, overcrowding so severe that diseases like tuberculosis thrive unchecked. In South Africa's Pollsmoor, gang violence rules, while in Sudan's Omdurman, torture enforces silence. These women aren't hardened criminals. Many are mothers, victims of poverty, or punished for choices like abortion, as seen in Mali's Bolle. Behind these bars, dignity fades, malnutrition takes hold, and brutality knows no limits. This is a world where a stolen moment of freedom leads to mass assaults, as in Congo's Makala prison. A world where innocent children live among inmates, as in South Sudan's Juba. This is the story of the top 10 most deadly and dangerous women's prisons in Africa. Places so harrowing you'd never want to visit them, even in your worst nightmares. This is Jackson as always. Welcome to the world of research. Welcome to the large family of Wisdom in Narrations. Number 10. Makala Central Prison, Female Wing, Democratic Republic of Congo. Makala Central Prison, located in Kinshasa, was built to accommodate 1,500 inmates. Today, it holds over 15,000 people, making it one of the most overcrowded prisons in Africa. Within its female wing, conditions are beyond dire. Women are confined to cramped cells, sharing spaces designed for far fewer occupants. Hygiene is a constant challenge, with limited access to clean water and inadequate sanitation. Medical care is scarce, leaving many inmates vulnerable to illness and infection. In September 2024, the prison was the site of a catastrophic event. An attempted escape led to chaos that spiraled out of control. During the disorder, armed individuals gained access to the female wing. Over 260 women were sexually assaulted amidst the turmoil. The tragedy also claimed the lives of at least 129 people, some killed in the violence, others crushed in the stampede. The incident highlighted the severe lack of security, oversight, and support within Makala. Survivors faced immense trauma with minimal access to mental health services or justice. The international community condemned the event, calling for urgent reform. Number 9. Pollsmoor Prison, Female Section, South Africa. Pollsmoor Prison, situated in Tokai, Cape Town, is one of South Africa's most notorious maximum security facilities. The female section of the prison is particularly infamous for its harsh conditions and systemic failures. Overcrowding is a persistent issue, with inmates crammed into cells far beyond their intended capacity. This congestion creates an environment where diseases spread rapidly, and sanitation facilities are often inadequate or non-existent. Violence is a daily reality for many incarcerated women. Gang activity thrives within the prison walls, with reports of intimidation, extortion, and physical assaults. Many inmates live in constant fear of retaliation or targeted attacks, fostering a culture of silence and mistrust. Healthcare is another critical failure at Pollsmoor. Medical care is both limited and inconsistent, leaving many inmates without treatment for chronic conditions or injuries sustained in violent altercations. Reports of neglect are common, with individuals often left to suffer in deteriorating health. Number 8. Luzira Women's Prison, Uganda. Luzira Women's Prison, located in Kampala, Uganda, is infamous for its harsh conditions and inhumane treatment of inmates. Both guards and fellow prisoners have been reported to perpetuate physical and psychological abuse, creating a hostile and unsafe environment. Originally designed to house 1,700 inmates, the facility now holds over 8,000, leading to severe overcrowding. This overcrowding has exacerbated the spread of communicable diseases such as tuberculosis, while access to adequate health care is almost non-existent. Malnutrition is another pressing issue, with many inmates suffering from insufficient and low-quality food. Epidemics are frequent within the prison due to poor sanitation and overcrowded cells. These conditions make survival a daily struggle, with little regard for the inmates' dignity or basic human rights. Number 7. Langata Women's Prison, Kenya. Langata Women's Prison, located in Kenya, is notorious for its severe overcrowding and inhumane treatment of inmates. Cells originally designed for far fewer individuals now confine 70 to 80 women at a time, creating a highly stressful and unhealthy living environment. Reports highlight widespread mistreatment by guards and security forces. Physical abuse, verbal harassment, and intimidation are common, leaving many inmates traumatized and powerless to seek redress. Basic necessities are scarce within Langata. Healthcare is almost non-existent, forcing inmates to endure illnesses without proper treatment. Malnutrition is another significant issue, with insufficient and poorly prepared food contributing to widespread hunger and deteriorating health. Number 6. Al-Qanater Women's Prison, Egypt. Al-Qanater Women's Prison, often referred to as the Bucket Prison, is infamous for its appalling living conditions. Situated in a desert location, the prison deprives inmates of basic human necessities such as running water, drinking water, and proper sanitation. With no bathrooms, inmates are forced to use buckets as toilets, compounding the inhumane conditions. Overcrowding is rampant within the prison walls. Cells designed to hold 30 inmates now confine up to 95 women, leading to poor ventilation and unhygienic living environments. The lack of proper sanitation causes an overwhelming spread of unpleasant smells, adding to the psychological toll of life in confinement. The desert setting exacerbates the misery, with extreme temperatures and limited resources making survival an everyday struggle. These conditions contribute to health complications and the rapid spread of diseases, further underscoring the neglect faced by the inmates. Number 5. Kabwe Female Maximum Correctional Facility, Zambia. The Kabwe Female Maximum Correctional Facility in Zambia is notorious for its harsh conditions and systemic neglect. Inmates face severe overcrowding, with cells designed for 4 people, often housing 10 to 15 women, leading to a cramped and degrading environment. Malnutrition is rampant, with inmates receiving insufficient and nutritionally inadequate meals. Many suffer from chronic diseases that go untreated due to a lack of proper medical care and resources. The facility's unsanitary conditions foster the spread of illnesses, further endangering the health of the incarcerated. Guard brutality is another grave concern at Kabwe. Reports of physical abuse and harsh treatment by prison staff are common, creating an atmosphere of fear and oppression. Adding to the misery, the facility is plagued by rat infestations, further deteriorating the quality of life for inmates. Number 4. Anoni Moay Women's Prison, Madagascar. Anoni Moay Women's Prison in Madagascar is among the most overcrowded and unsanitary prisons globally, notorious for its extreme conditions and neglect. The overcrowding is so severe that inmates are forced to sleep packed together, often laying their feet on one another due to the lack of space. The lack of proper hygiene exacerbates the situation, with filthy living conditions fostering the rapid spread of diseases. The prison is also plagued by inadequate health care, leaving inmates with untreated illnesses and chronic conditions. Malnutrition is another critical issue, as the food provided is insufficient and of poor quality, contributing to weakened immune systems and vulnerability to illness. These harsh conditions have resulted in frequent outbreaks of deadly diseases, with numerous inmates succumbing to the effects of neglect and overcrowding. Number 3. Freetown Female Correctional Center, Sierra Leone. The Freetown Female Correctional Center in Sierra Leone is a grim representation of the struggles faced by impoverished women in the criminal justice system. Women in this prison are often detained for petty crimes, such as loitering or borrowing small amounts of money to feed their families, only to find themselves incarcerated for months or even years due to their inability to repay. As one of only 2 correctional facilities for women in Sierra Leone, it is severely overcrowded. Inmates live in dark, unsanitary conditions with limited access to basic necessities. Toilets are scarce or non-existent, forcing women to endure inhumane circumstances. The lack of nutritious food further exacerbates their plight, leaving many malnourished and vulnerable to illness. Number 2. Bolle Detention Center, Mali. Bolle Detention Center, the only women's prison in Mali, reflects the country's harsh stance on certain crimes. A significant portion of the inmates, approximately 80%, are imprisoned for offenses related to abortion, which is strictly prohibited under Malian law. This highlights the severe consequences faced by women seeking reproductive autonomy. Adding to the tragedy, many inmates are incarcerated alongside their children, who live in the prison despite being innocent of any crime. These children endure the same deplorable conditions as their mothers, with limited access to proper nutrition and basic necessities. Malnutrition is rampant in Bolle, with inadequate food supplies leaving many women and children severely undernourished. The lack of sanitation further compounds their suffering, as inmates are forced to use buckets as toilets, creating unsanitary living conditions that lead to the spread of diseases. Number 1. Juba Central Women's Prison, South Sudan. Juba Central Women's Prison, located in South Sudan's capital, is emblematic of the challenges faced by women in the country's penal system. Originally built to accommodate 500 inmates, today it houses over 2,000, making it severely overcrowded. Cells designed for a maximum of 10 people now confine up to 70 women, creating unbearable living conditions. This overcrowding has led to serious hygiene and sanitation issues. With insufficient access to clean water and proper facilities, diseases spread rapidly and inmates are forced to endure unsanitary conditions that severely impact their health. Reports reveal that South Sudanese authorities frequently use torture, physical abuse, and other forms of ill treatment to maintain control over the prison population. This systemic brutality further compounds the suffering of the inmates, many of whom live in constant fear. Malnutrition is a critical issue as the prison struggles to provide sufficient food to its inmates. Many women suffer from severe health issues due to a lack of adequate nutrition and medical care. Additionally, the prison houses mothers alongside their children who are forced to live in the same inhumane conditions despite being innocent of any crime. These children grow up in an environment devoid of basic necessities and opportunities for education or a healthy upbringing. Juba Central Women's Prison highlights the urgent need for reforms within South Sudan's penal system, particularly to address overcrowding, improve living conditions, and ensure the protection of women's rights and dignity. This is the end. Based on the information you have learned about these prisons, which one do you think is the most terrifying, a place you wouldn't even wish your enemy to end up in? Write to me in the comments. This is Jackson as always. I wish you better life, foods, and money. Stay in the big family of Wisdom in Narrations. Thanks for watching.